Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda, and this is my weekly wrap-up. I decided to do things a little bit differently this time, and I filmed my thoughts as I finished each of the books, and I finished 6 books this week, I think. So, I'm going to send you there to watch all of those, and then I'll catch you at the end. Well, I just finished Corporate Gunslinger. I am excited for 2 reasons. Number one, it was a pretty good book. I was underwhelmed by the ending, but overall, it was a pretty good book. I'm really excited though because now I get to spin again. I get to roll again for my Bookopoly board, but let's talk about this. So, this book is about a girl named Kira who has racked up a lot of debt, and in there, let me see what it's called. They call it debt slavery. So when you're in too much debt, you sign over yourself as collateral to pay back a debt. And if you can't pay it back, then you have to be a slave until they think you've paid back the debt or whatever, however that works. Kira has racked up a bunch of debt for various reasons, which we find out throughout the book. And her choices are to go get picked up to go into the debt slavery program or become a dueler. Oh, and the slavery thing is called a lifetime services contract. I'm just reading the back of it back here because I didn't read that before I started. And it's a gunfighter is what she becomes. And it's called Corporate Gunslinger because these insurance companies hire gunslingers in this world, which this is our world just in the future, like a kind of dystopian. They call it dystopian, but I don't know. Dystopic speculative fiction debut about corporate greed, debt slavery, and gun violence that is as intense and dark as Stephen King's The Long Walk. I've not read The Long Walk, but this Kira decides to become a gunslinger, of course. So what happens is she's hired by an insurance company, and let's say your house burns down, and you submit to the insurance company hey, my house burned down, and they say, oh, well, you didn't pay your premium correctly or whatever, and so you didn't actually have coverage. So then you can go and appeal that decision, and it goes up to an arbitrator. And then the arbitrator rules one way or the other. And let's say the arbitrator rules for the insurance company. And then you're like, I'm still not satisfied. Well, the last step is to do a duel with the insurance company's representative, which is what the gunslingers are. So Kira was doing duels with regular citizens who were trying to get their insurance money paid to them that they felt they were owed. So this whole book is more of a discussion of corporate greed and kind of how all of that takes over. At the same time, though, it's a little story about how a person doesn't realize all the time that they're accumulating debt always, or how much they're accumulating when they're in college and you're just taking on student loans and you're like, that's fine, it's a student loan, and you don't realize until you're on the other side of it that, oh my gosh, am so far in debt and I owe all this money. And so I just made it sound a lot drier than it actually was. I really enjoyed this book. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars because I really liked it. It's not long, and the stuff that it says as far as the societal opinions that are in here, they're not over the top. I didn't feel like the agenda was being shoved down my throat all the time like I do in some novels. I thought it was really well done and a really cool way of looking at some of the things or some of the conditions that we find ourselves in as far as debt and owing things and how corporations work and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that it was great. It did, like I said, had a less than satisfying ending. So I am going to just give it 4 stars, but I really, really liked it. I'm glad that I read it. Okay, that means that since I finished a physical book from my physical library, that I get $1 of this adorable Monopoly money. Now, I have a little Ziploc bag that I'm actually going to keep this in. That is my plan, at least, going forward. And so I do have that dollar. Now, when I talked it over with my husband and we kind of like, I had him help me brainstorm some ideas of how this money would work. And so what the plan is going to be is, other than my book of the month, and if I am physically in like a thrift store or a used bookstore, I can buy books then. But otherwise, book of the month is like the only order that I'm going to get of books. I'm not going to buy any online. I'm not going to do that anymore. And then as I finish reading a book, I'm going to get $1, one Monopoly dollar. And then once I have enough of these that I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go trade them in or whatever, then I'll trade them in for real money and I'll be able to go buy books. So that is going to be the plan, and I'm going to try to keep up with that going forward, and we'll see whether or not that's going to work. But I'm about to tilt the camera down and roll to find out what's happening next. Okay, so here's my little money up here. All right, so I'm going to roll all 3 dice. And here's where I am, right here. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm reading one of the NPR books for 2018. I've already picked that. So let me look at it and see what it is. Okay, so I went ahead and picked all of them for 18, 19, and 20 in the Tales from Around the World. So this one is Terra, Nullius, a novel by Claire Coleman. And this is available from my library, but only an ebook. So it looks like this one's going to be an ebook read, which means my non-Bookopoly book is going to be audio. Which, what I'm doing right now is I'm finishing up the Bone Shard Daughter that we started on this past weekend at the 24-hour readathon. So I'm finishing up that. I'm also going to finish the Lord of Chaos Wheel of Time book today. So when I finish that, I'll come back and talk about it for a second. And then hopefully I'll finish the Bone Shard Daughter. And then I'm going back to the Green Rider series that I had already started a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going back to finish up Blackveil. And then we'll just see where I am in the ebook and what's happening there. So that's what's going on. I love getting to roll. It makes me so happy. So that's going to do it. I'll check back in. Like I said, when I finish Lord of Chaos, I'll come back and talk about it. And yeah, that's it. Okay, this is the day of finishing books. I just finished Lord of Chaos. It's the 22nd of May, and Andrew and I have been finishing about one book. I forgot about the fan, sorry. We've been finishing about one book a month, but we're done with this book in 22 days. So we're tomorrow just jumping into the next book. We have 8 books left and 7 months left, or 6 months left in the year. So we're going to have to speed it up if we want to finish this whole series by the end of the year. But we'll see how that's going to go. So far, so good. This was my favorite book. It's Lord of Chaos, book number 6. Everybody, I mean, not everybody, but it seems that book 4 is the favorite for a lot of people. Well, book 6, hands down, is my favorite so far. I wish it would have ended in a different way, because I wish there are so many different moving parts at this point and so many storylines that are happening all over this world that I really wish a few of them could have come together and closed up more than they did. But overall, I liked it. Best book. I'm a little concerned because now we're moving into the ones that everybody says are just boring and hard to get through. But that's okay. We're going to take it slow and steady and finish it up. So, what else? That's it. I am now down to just one audiobook. So I'm just reading The Bone Shard Daughter. And that is in a separate vlog that came out earlier this week with me trying to finish it in 24 hours. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen that, it did not work in 24 hours. But anyway, that's all I'm reading now for the rest of the day. But I do have a little bit of work that I've got to get finished. So I'm going to do my work, and then I'm going to read The Bone Shard Daughter. And I will come back and talk to you about that one after I finish it. Okay, well, I had to come on here to just say that I finished The Bone Shard Daughter. And if you didn't see the 24-hour vlog that went up for this earlier, then go watch that. But I loved it, and I gave it 5 stars, and I will definitely be reading book 2, but it's going to have to go on my list and wait for me to get there. But I will get there, and I will read it. This was just such a cool book about, the magic system in this world is the most unique thing that I have ever read. Now, granted, I have not been reading fantasy for very long, just a little over a year, I think, not even a year. I kind of started in June of last year, so I am very new to fantasy, but this is the most unique magic system that I have ever read about, and I love it. So I cannot wait to explore it more. This is a multiple point of view, a multi-POV book, and it is everything that I love. It has animal companions who talk, number 1. It has smugglers who have a good heart. That's also something that I love. And it has a girl in her 20s. It has a young woman learning who she is and who she wants to be. And multiple, actually, young women deciding to stand up for themselves and take the power that is being used in a negative way to hurt people instead of help. I loved it. And I cannot wait for the next book. Okay, I finished another book last night. I finished Blackveil by Kristen. This is book 4 in the Green Riders series. I think that I might be done at least until she's finished writing them. So without giving away spoilers, I can't really say. I gave this 4 stars because the overall plot, like the main plot, I really enjoy. I like Kerrigan. I like the other Green Riders. I like everything that has to do with the Green Rider storyline, everything that's going on with that. But there is a side plot romance kind of thing that I can't stand. Like, it makes me so uncomfortable to read, number 1. Yet yesterday when I was finishing it up, like it made my stomach start hurting. And I was like, this is not why I read books. Like, this is just not okay. And so I don't like any of it. And so what I did was I asked someone who's read all the books up to now, which there's 7 books. I think there's 7 so far. And so I asked, and I was like, can anybody just go ahead and give me the spoilers of what happens in the romance storyline? Because I just have to know, then I'll know whether I'm okay with reading it or not. And I do that sometimes anyway. So if you know me in real life and I'm going to watch a movie, if I'm concerned that people might die, I have to know ahead of time who's going to die. And I realize that is huge spoilers, and everybody's like, why would you even watch a movie after you know that? But it's because I can be prepared for it. So, yeah, it's just the way my mental mind, what? It's just the way my mind / emotions work together. So anyway, somebody came in and told me the answer to what I was asking about the thing. And what I wanted to know is not sufficiently answerable at this point because the series is not finished. So I think I'm just going to put this on pause after book 4, and I will wait and come back and read the rest of them when the final book is done and I can get that answered sufficiently. So that probably does not make sense. Nobody in my family understands when I say that I have to find out ahead of time who's going to die in a movie so that I'm prepared when I go in and watch it. But anyway, that does not matter. This book, the whole plot line, it's so good. Like, I love the way the Green Riders work. I love what's happening in Blackveil. This whole book is called Blackveil, and that is the name of the forest in the previous books that they've been trying to breach the wall and then sending people in and people not coming out. And so Kerrigan and a group of people go in to Blackveil Forest, and it was just really good. Like, the whole thing that happened was really good. There's another element that some other people were like, I do not like this element of this story. And then somebody said, well, I'm sorry, because the whole next book is about that same thing. But that's not me. I really liked that part. So anyway, I'm a little bit sad that I'm putting it on pause, but I'm putting it on pause. So I know you hear Jango. Come here. Because as if moving is not stressful enough, Jango is having something wrong with his stomach. And so he is actually going to the vet in the morning again to have an x-ray just on his abdomen to see if they can figure out what's going on. So he's eating fine. He's just having some issues. So I will definitely update you on what's going on with that, because he's doing the x-ray before I close the vlog tomorrow. So I will for sure come back. Oh, one thing I forgot to say was that today my friends had a surprise birthday party for me. I was pulling up the pictures to look at on my phone. I'm going to just put the pictures up here. But they surprised me also. They let me bring home the leftover cake. So I still have early birthday cake here at my house. I am going to be at my parents' house on my actual birthday in June, but because it's coming up and I'm about to move from here, then they decided to surprise me with an early birthday little party today, and it was so sweet, and I really enjoyed it. They gave me a puzzle, which if any of you have been here, this is what I love to do while I listen to audiobooks. They got me a coffee cup as well. So I'm so thankful for my friends just being great people, and happy that I got to celebrate my birthday early with them. Yes, I am still wearing the same shirt that I had on in the clip yesterday, and that is because I just put it on for the second half of yesterday. Does that make sense? Do y'all do that? Anyway, so it was clearly clean, and so I put it back on this morning. And so far all I've done is I've driven to the vet and dropped Jango off. He's having his x-ray done today, so I will update you when I find out what's going on. But on my way back here from dropping him off, I finished Priest of Lies. I actually sat in the car and finished the last 5 minutes. Just listened to the last 5 minutes of it. I'm giving it 4 stars. This series, that's book 2 in the series, and it's called The War for the Rose Throne, I think. And we actually got to go into the main city, like the capital city where the queen lives this time, for a little while, and learn, I guess, a little bit more about how all of that works. There was also just some sad parts in this book, which is weird to me because these characters are brutal. Like, I guess there's sad parts in all of these, because I mean, in essence, it's a mob type situation with magic. And so, I mean, anytime you're dealing with mob type things, bad things can happen. But anyway, this just follows on exactly from where the last book left off. We're still being told everything by the priest. He is writing it all down in some kind of, I don't remember in the first book if he explained why he's writing it, like if it's a memoir or if it's just a journal and he's like, I need to write down everything that happened. I don't know. But, I mean, what we find out in this book is that Peter McLean does not care about killing off characters that we like. But that wasn't even the sad part for me. Like, there were just other things that I was like, oh, this really stinks. Overall, though, the story is so good. Like, I love the overall story and everything that's going on. Although, I was thinking about it today, there's not a ton of plot in this. Like, it's mostly the priest maintaining the territory that he had. And then there's some small plot things that happen, but really, it's not a super plot-heavy book. And I still like it, even though the characters, I mean, I don't know. The characters should not be likable, but I really like them. I don't even know how to talk about this book. So I would say, if you like morally gray characters, maybe morally dark gray characters, then you're going to like this book. You're going to like the characters in this book and the people that we're following and the stuff that they do. Like, there's a person in there named Bloody Ann. Does that give you a clue as to what she's like? Although I really like her. I don't know. Anyway, it has horrible language and super violent situations. And I'm listening to it on audio, and I think that the narrator is doing a fantastic job. I don't even know who it is that narrates these, but narrated by John Lee. I've now listened to 2 of them on audio, and just so good. So good. Anyway, where am I right now? My plan right now is to not worry about what I'm starting next on audio. I'm going to finish, I think, The Way of Shadows, which is my book club book. I only have, I think, 10 chapters left. So I'm going to work on those today, the rest of the day. I just did this whole thing discussing Terra Nullius and had not hit record on my video. Okay. Terra Nullius follows at least 4 different characters as they navigate the settlers versus the indigenous people. It is written by an Australian author, and I did almost just pause it and save it for when I get to Australia in my read around the world. But since I'm going backwards in alphabetical order, it'll be years maybe by the time I get there. And this is also a Bookopoly book, so I wanted to finish it. So we get the point of view of a nun who is working at, Sister somebody is her name. Anyway, she works at this indigenous school for indigenous children. And we see how brutal she is. Like, the very beginning, very first page, she's grabbing a couple of kids that she hears talking, and she throws them in what we would call solitary confinement in like an outbuilding or something. Not together either, they're separate. Then we'll follow a little boy named Jackie who was at one of these schools, and then he was sent to a home, like a private home, as kind of like a slave pretty much. And now he has escaped, and we're hearing his point of view as he's trying to get home, only he doesn't really know where home is because he's been gone for so long. So he doesn't know which direction to go or any of the rest of that stuff. So then we're following, we get the point of view of a woman who is in like a indigenous camp, or like a camp where, I can't really figure out how to describe it, a refugee kind of camp. Anyway, I just can't say too much, and I will advise you to not read a bunch of synopsis about this book. Like, just go into it knowing that it is the settlers versus, not versus, but the settlers and the indigenous people, kind of versus. And it has some sci-fi elements, I would say, more so than fantasy. It's just not a straightforward historical fiction or a straightforward fiction novel. So it's also pretty easy to get spoiled if you go looking. I didn't look at anything before I read it, but when I was finished, I was looking it up because I wanted more info about the author, and it was pretty easy for me to see the spoilers, and I was like, oh, so maybe just go into it as blind as possible. There are some big twists in this and some great character work. I really enjoyed it, and I recommend it. So since I finished that, I get to do another spin. Okay, let's go. You can barely see this one, but it's a 3. So that is 12. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, this means that it's a genre pick. It's romance. Okay, so I got genre, and my genre is romance. And so I went and looked at my list of the romance novels that I need to read next on Storygraph, and the one that came up was a Lexi Blake book, but she was writing as another author, Sophie Oak. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start that. That might not be in my update because the next week is going to be June. So we'll be kicking off June with a June TBR video, a Stephen Graham Jones kickoff, because June is going to be the month of Stephen Graham Jones. And I'm doing my first 5-star prediction video. So all of those are going to be coming out in the next week. So I'm going to have like 3 or 4 videos in a row, 3 or 4 days of videos. So if you missed my April video a day, here you go. Here's like 3 or 4 videos in a row here as we are transitioning and moving out of our house. So this is the last wrap up that will be done in this house. When we do the next wrap up, I will be living in temporary housing, but still here in Texas, just in an apartment like deal for a week. We're staying there. So that will be the next update. And I think that's everything. I'm not going to go through what I'm reading next, other than I will be reading that romance. I'm still trying to finish up The Way of Shadows, which I should finish today. I'm still continuing The Wheel of Time with Andrew, and I think that's it right now. That's my physical, and that's my... Oh, no. So I don't have a non-Bookopoly physical book yet because what I just finished, Terra Nullius, was an ebook. And so my next read, the Lexi Blake book, is an audiobook. And so I don't have a physical book yet, other than I've got to read Don't Believe It, which Don't Believe It, this book, and Insomnia. So I do have 2 physical books that need to be read, and there's no way I'm going to finish Insomnia before the live show, so maybe I'll just read as much of it as I can and then be there for part of the discussion before the spoilers start. Anyway, I'm sad that I'm going to miss it and not be able to fully be there because I'm not going to be done with it, but that is going to be what I read physically next. So I think that's going to do it. I am going to go get some more stuff ready for the movers to come, and I will just see you, well, this week in a whole lot of videos, but I'll see you next week for another wrap up. Bye.